Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:02. Mr. Robson, when you're ready, please call.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
Mrs. Newman?
Here.
Mr. Eckenrose?
Here, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, thank you to anyone who might be watching out there. We're going to get started with a presentation from Mr. Perez about our little items we have in front of us. Tell us what's going on.
Good evening, everyone. Well, we finally received the Board of Education Challenge Coin. This is just another tool in our tool belt to recognize, reward all exceptional performance, achievement, or service. Otherwise, one that espouses the Bulldog way and exceeds it. Board members can present their challenge coin on the spot, at an awards assembly, at a BOE meeting. It is at your discretion. Who can receive the challenge coin? Potentially a student, possibly a teacher, support staff, central office staff, or even a community member if you choose to. The idea of the Board of Education Challenge Coin came about when I was visiting our schools and our different departments throughout the district, i.e. the transportation building, cafeterias, and our maintenance folks. But I felt there just needed to be a different way of recognizing our staff besides a thank you and a pat on the back. So quickly came to mind was the challenge coin. The challenge coin, I was introduced to it during my service in the military. Our leaders would present the challenge coin because we espoused our Air Force core values and we exceeded the standard. So I would hope the Board of Education embraces it and carries it out. And after speaking with the President came up with the idea of everyone should have 5 coins. Issue them as you see fit throughout the year. And next year we reapproach it again and reevaluate it. And if the board president is not mine, I would like to leave this one for the Board of Education office so they can display it for any visitor or anything of like that. And sir, wherever you'd like to display it in the board office.
That's a great idea.
I love it, yeah.
So I have a question, now that I actually have the coin
I'm gonna take a look at that.
in my hand.
Thank you.
Like, I'm wondering if, there's a little something that we could, like, write. So when we give the coin, like, you know, like, sure, I could think of something to say, but wouldn't it be better, maybe, if we had a little blurb that says, this is why I'm giving you this coin?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That, we could keep in our pocket, I guess I would keep it in my purse with one of the coins, right? Or I don't even know if it could be this size, right? That further explain, not to put any more work on anybody else, but, or, you know, just a little insert that says, that explains maybe, right? Because I could see us maybe giving it to a student, or let's say I give it to a student, and their parent is not there, and then they come home, it could be maybe one of our younger bulldogs, and the mom and dad are like, what's this? And I don't know, they gave me this gold coin, right? Whereas if we had a little explanation, the parent would be like, this is why you got this, right? Or, you know, I'm just thinking, or, I mean, and maybe we're gonna roll, I think we talked about rolling it out on our blog, right?
Yep.
And so people do read that, but again, I'm just thinking out loud now that they're here, and I don't wanna screw it up. I don't wanna say the wrong thing, I wanna say as eloquently as you just described it, right? And I'm afraid if I don't have a little,
Cliff notes?
yeah, a few cliff notes to say, like, it's called Spark Notes, by the way, now.
Oh.
Spark Notes. Yeah, we gotta get to the 21st century. We're dating ourselves with
I know.
cliff notes. Anyway, I'm just thinking out loud, I don't know how anybody else feels,
No, I agree.
but that's kind of how I feel.
I think that's a great idea. and we are gonna put it on the blog, and maybe we can start thinking about what that language is and get it into the
Yeah.
post about it.
I think Bob writes the language and like gives it to us as far as what the, central message is, whatever, 3, 4 sentences, whatever it is, and then it's there with the image on the front and back.
And it could be
And it's
the
on your
same
website.
language
Yeah,
that
it's
they
part of
would
your
give
website.
us, that,
Yeah.
that we get. It could be the same thing. I mean, I could cobble it together, right, or not. Or if you're, you know, like, I don't know how it was, like, when you, I'm sure you've received challenge points in your lifetime, how they were presented. I mean, maybe it was a program that y'all knew about, so when you got it, it was like good, but I'm thinking an itty bitty bulldog might be like, thanks for the coin.
Yep, absolutely. Get something to the board office.
Okay,
It's a
thank
great
you.
idea. Well, thank you, Bob, for doing this, the initiative. I think
They
it's a
look
great
amazing.
Yeah, they
initiative.
look amazing.
Don't they?
I would also like to add, and I think I maybe had said this at the first meeting we talked about this, but if you feel compelled, if you've given one of these out at the next meeting, you know, during general board discussion, if you want to just say for 30 seconds, hey, I had the opportunity to be at the football game last week and saw so-and-so was doing a great job, I gave a coin out, so shout out to so-and-so, just to report very informally back. I think we'd all like to hear who you gave one to after the fact.
So you only get 5 for the year?
Yeah, they're special, man.
Okay.
They're rationed out.
And they're-
25.
25 will be given.
You don't get one, you don't get any.
No, we don't get to give them.
I know.
I understand that part.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you get to go, hey, I gave out my 5 coins. I mean, it was, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm spending, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
whatever.
They make a hell of a belt buckle. Let's just say
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah.
Now, I think we could have exceptions, like if the girls repeat,
Yeah.
you know, for.
You're gonna give one to a state championship team and
Yes,
everybody gets one.
And
Okay.
everybody gets one.
There's a high probability you're doing this year, not gonna lie.
Ball marker.
Those definitely.
Yeah.
You know, I even thought, you know, flipping a coin at a football game.
It'd be cool. Not sure, I'm not sure how, who handles that part of things. That would have to ask.
That's like SW, like
There-
OH.
Like if we had a special
They're
guest
not
go
the
out and flip the coin.
You just need to get it to the ref.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin knows.
Yeah, that's right.
No, this is
Had
great.
a football.
You just come in the back pocket, so you could just talk to the ref and go, hey, you want this on the table.
I love the back.
Yeah,
I love
these
it.
look really nice.
I love it.
Awesome, thank you. That's awesome. Administrative reports, no PTA rep here. Mrs. Walker, any Polaris update?
We met last week, and Polaris has now, we had the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new LPN program, their adult, and it was pretty impressive, I'm not gonna lie. 18 beds that look exactly like they would if you were in Southwest. It's a pretty nice program. Then we just had our regular meeting. We are moving forward with there's gonna be something posting about the open superintendent's position. Bob has actually indicated he might wanna up his time of when he leaves a little earlier than we expected, but so we are going to move forward. We're going internal first, and if we're not happy at that point, then we go external.
Did Mr. Timmons indicate anything about he's coming, has an interest in coming back in a
He
different
already
position?
has an agreement, a retire, rehire for a period of time.
He does, okay.
That was done before I was on the board.
Yeah.
He has also indicated that he has a preferred candidate. Did not name that candidate. I think we all know who that candidate is.
Interesting.
But I mean, he's not getting a rubber stamp. There has to be
His
some-
retire rehire, is it into the same role as superintendent, or is it
No.
in a different role? It is. It's like as an assistant superintendent, I'm
Yes.
assuming?
To help with transition.
No, transition.
That's how, I mean, because again, I wasn't on the board when that happened. That was
Yeah.
his term.
And I don't know, we're supposed to have a meeting, I don't know any of these, the answers to any of these questions, so they're not like, he said, so his retire, rehire, and then going into that position, will there be 2 assistant superintendents, or is Mr. Shepherd also retiring at the same time?
I think he's also, because we've discussed that we have to, like we have to bring somebody in and then they have to find. Don't quote me, I could be completely wrong on
They
this.
have to find an assistant,
Yeah,
right, which is a great thing to try to find. Big responsibility.
I
All
hear
kinds
the
of- all kinds
wheels,
of things
I
to
hear
say.
the wheels. and
Yeah, it's
that's
just one of those
what
things that quite
I'm
honestly, I mean, in this board, or a board like this, of maybe different people will be faced with that, you know, kind of
Yeah, it's
challenge.
a, I mean,
A lot of
there's
times you
some
don't want somebody
discussion-
chirping in your ear as far as who they think ought to be, the assistant that they're leading. It's just, there's a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of discussion, because I'm not a board member who's ever gone through this process.
Yeah, yep.
Well,
Well, Bob's been there forever.
Well, yeah,
A
he's
long
been there
time.
like 25 years. or
Yeah.
something. But there are board members there that have been through this, so we've had a lot of, it's been, like, I feel like I'm, you know, I'm on the low end of the learning curve right now, so.
Okay. Yeah.
It should be getting posted this week, I think.
Okay.
It's an internal post. I mean, it will be
Yeah, I
an
read that, I
announcement.
just thought that was interesting too, that they're gonna post it internally, which means obviously that they have more than one internal candidate, and they're gonna run that first. That's what the board decided that they wanted to do, was to look internally first, and then if they don't find somebody internally, is then the idea that they would externally post? Did they say who the hiring committee was gonna be on the internal,
The board members, there'll probably be some staff representation.
well, will it be all board members from the associate schools? So you'll be on that?
Yes.
You will,
Whoever's, the Polaris board will be.
Right, yeah,
Yes. And then, in addition to the hiring committee, there will be not necessarily representatives from the home districts that would in essence interview candidates, but that they would provide, we're looking for feedback on what do you want? Like, you know, what are your thoughts, sort of thing. That's also in the process. We've told them we want that in we want input from the home districts.
yeah, I would
Like,
strongly
whether that's like the high
encourage
school principals or,
the superintendents, I would
Yeah.
strongly encourage, that really happens.
like we said, we wanted, not necessarily, you don't wanna get an interview process to be like 40 people interviewing.
Yeah, I
That's
don't think you
much.
necessarily need that,
But
but you need to.
we said that
yeah.
we felt we need input. So that's in order.
You will likely, I mean, just because we went through that recent exercise of kind of a plus delta with sort of like everything related to Polaris, and there were so many pluses for sure, but the deltas really, I think, will resonate with the kind of in my opinion, the kind of candidate that, you know, that the 5 superintendents from the associate schools would want in the person that is their peer, you know what I mean? And I'll be interested to see, I mean, because the high school principal interacts, but doesn't interact with the superintendent, they interact with the high school principal of Polaris. The superintendents interact with the superintendent of Polaris. So those are the folks, in my opinion, that ought to be asked,
So,
along with the Polaris staff, for sure.
principal of Polaris?
There is a one of everything. In fact, sometimes too, it's like Noah's Ark in a lot of different ways. They have a superintendent, they have an assistant, 2 assistant superintendents, a principal, several assistant principals. There's a lot of staff there for, think about 800 kids. And while they
yeah,
have
and so
adult
the other,
programs too.
the other component of this is they also have adult ed programs.
They have adult ed programs.
So, and
Yeah,
that's like an entirely, I'm learning is an entirely different animal.
it is.
You know, we had a whole presentation on that,
Yeah.
some of it kind of mirrors what we do and some of it kind of doesn't.
I mean, I would say that like that position, because that career tech center, that is one of the highly sought jobs in the state of Ohio and probably elsewhere because of the resources that it has and the facilities that it has. And so it would be sought after, not by me, but certainly by others. So. Okay, thanks. I'm sorry I asked so many questions.
No, that's okay. No,
I was
no,
saying a
that's-
lot of
that's-
opinions on things, but.
Perfectly all right.
Any other
Thanks for
questions,
that.
comments? Mrs. Walker? Thank you. Mr. Zeller, I know you have some stuff to talk about later, but anything for your report with that now?
Yeah, no, just, excited to get another year started. Obviously, we hired a lot of new teachers, in conjunction with Shannon, going through the new teacher induction. We're excited for the new crop that's coming in. Thankful for our grounds maintenance, custodial cleaners who have worked at getting the district ready for the beginning of the school year. And then, work from food service in terms of updated equipment in each of our kitchens, new walk-in cooler. A lot of work's been done, so just excited to have a good year.
Awesome. Comments, questions? Brad? I want to say great job at the convocation the other day. You're hilarious and great, and I really enjoyed it, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. For the first time ever, did you give a report last time? No.
I did not. This is the first time ever.
For the
Thanks
first
for
time
having me.
ever, Dr. Goss,
Yes.
make it shine.
So we've been busy. No pressure there.
pressure.
Yeah, it's okay.
No pressure.
Good thing I know everyone here.
Yeah.
So, I'll echo what Dr. Zeller has mentioned. Last Thursday, the 15th, memorialized the first day of bringing in the instructional staff, about 25, 4 include new administrators. And really since then, on Monday, we've had almost 400 staff in, doing a variety of different professional development centered on technology, safety, instruction, really all centered on the students returning. So I'm excited for the new year. Last Thursday was one of 6 new teacher induction sessions that I will be hosting, leading, inviting others. So throughout the year, backward planning for May until our next meeting in September, the new teachers will be with us. And at that time, we'll be bringing, key people from the district to come in and give them a further download. Our district design team, on the instructional side, student services, our HR department will give some updates, including also our evaluation system through high observation. So just a variety of topics that will come up through that new teacher induction in the year that I'm looking forward to being a part of. And I think that's all I have. Any questions? Welcome.
Thanks. I also want to acknowledge too, our administrative team is amazing. I mean, starting with, even before the retreat, how hard they all work. I mean, we had 2 open houses last night. Teachers are in PD all day, and they're hustling to get back to their building. I was at Falls Lennox this morning and saw a teacher, and I'm like, so how was last night? She's like, the best. I cannot wait. So, I mean, how long was the day between waking up at 7:30, going through all the professional development, and then having an open house?
Till 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, so, I mean, you walk in, and today was our health fair. Teachers are smiling and happy, catching up, and, they're ready for students to return.
How's Stephanie doing first few?
Yeah, we're working closely, which is, I think, great, spending a lot of time. There's, all the history and the students that, have been here before, so any questions she has, I have been available to answer. And so we're spending a lot of time together, but she's great. I mean, she's been doing this for 7 years. It's just learning the Bulldog way.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Any other questions, comments?
I would just point out, and I forgot to say it, and I had it written down, and I didn't say it. The health fair, this is the 3rd one that I've done. Every year I'm more unhealthy.
You shouldn't laugh at that.
But
He said it. I don't know.
Maybe it's the exception that proves the rule.
But I would say, this is the best health fair of the 3 I've done. I mean, we changed it up this year where we gave schools specific times, allowed principals to schedule around it, kept a steady flow throughout, and we had more vendors than we've ever had. So, a shout out to Sam Chin, because he did a really good job putting that together.
Anything else? You did a great job at convocation.
Yeah, I think I did a lot of
It was,
cheering
yeah.
everyone on.
Yeah. That was like a cool, it pumped me up. It was a cool event.
It was a jamboree in the hills,
Yeah.
but it was in the auditorium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely, a revival, if you will.
It was a, yeah, old time revival. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We could go out of order. Is there a PTA update?
I apologize, had it ready to go and then started cooking something and then lost track of time. And then I was like, oh no.
Well, we're
Wonderful
still-
way.
we're
Hope
still
you
here.
did something good.
Yeah.
So yeah, zucchini boats. So
Oh,
that's my
nice.
daughter, I'm in charge of the garden now that she's back at school. So, hi everybody, I'm Joy Iannica. I am the new council president. I have a sophomore, I have a junior, Matthew, who's here, and my daughter is a sophomore at Ohio State, and she graduated from Austin Falls. So we're excited about this year for council. Right now, all of our units are just getting things together, doing their audits, and changing signers and all of that. And meetings will begin next month, and they're working on the open houses with the schools. But I want to let you know who our presidents are. For the ECC, it's Melissa Bristow. For Falls Lennox ECC, it's Chrissy Pettit. Then for OFIS, it is Stacy Mazzella. And middle school is Shannon Turchik. And this is pretty awesome. Our high school president is first male, Chris Snagmasopoulos. So he's really excited about taking the helm and getting that all together. So those are our presidents. And then I do have one thing. Chrissy Pettit from Falls Lennox wanted me to showcase their unit. So, and it's real quick. She said this past summer, staff rooms at both the ECC and Falls Lennox were relocated to accommodate a growing student body. Both spaces were in need of updating in order to create a welcoming space that could accommodate educators and staff. And in order to achieve this, FLECC PTA ran a sponsor a seat fundraiser at the end of July to raise money for the new tables and seating to make each room a place where staff could share a meal, collaborate together, or just take a moment to relax. Community members came together in support of this effort, which resulted in raising $2,778.61. We have a pretty awesome community. Funds have been used toward updating tables, chairs, decor to transform the rooms into a space for adults, charging stations, and more. Staff that we've seen over the past few weeks as the transformation began taking shape were incredibly grateful and appreciative of all the work that FLECC put into this summer activity. Everything has been really well received, and it could not have been done without PTA members and the support of the community. So, and that's Chrissy Pettit. So that's my report.
Awesome, thank you.
So thank you very much, and I enjoy, looking forward to working with you all this year.
I have a question. How did Saturday go for you guys?
Oh,
That
Saturday,
training?
yes.
So tell them about that real quick,
Yes.
as
So-
far as what you guys did.
So Ohio PTA approached our school and asked if they could host their summer leadership workshop here. It's for everybody in Region 1. So that's half of Cuyahoga County, so it's Parma West, and Avon, and parts of Lorraine County. It may even go farther west than that. And there were 60 people in attendance, which was huge. They
It's
had
like Saturday morning at like.
Saturday morning at 8 a.m.
Okay. Yeah.
And there were topics that were presented about how to be a president, how to do treasurer stuff, how to work with the program that we use for our database, fundraising, and membership. So about 9 workshops throughout the mornings. You could choose which one, 3 of the ones that you wanted to go to. And thank you, Dr. Lloyd, for coming.
No, that was cool.
Yeah.
You said it was gonna be a skeleton crew, and I showed up, and there's 60 people there from like Solon all the way out, and I'm like, man, this is like, they all like
huge.
rose to the occasion at the end there.
And,
That was cool to see.
That's what they said. Jerry Barris, she is from Berea PTA, and Ohio PTA. But she said earlier that week they had 17 people, and by Friday, when they closed, they had 60.
Mhm.
So they were so appreciative of being able to use the space. They got really curious and they came for the volunteer dinner, like, ooh, we like this idea. So thank you so much for everybody that made that work as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Joy. Well, we're so grateful for our PTAs and all the work that you guys do, so thank you so much for that.
And we look forward to it all. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Try to follow that. Yeah, that was all pretty feel good.
Don't mess it up.
No, financial summary, that's what's exciting
For
stuff.
you.
I'll wake you up when it's over here. July, so the first month of the fiscal year, and really in July, there's not a whole lot of activity going on. We've got supplies ordered, services lined up to take place, and, we cut off purchase orders, requisitions back in the middle of April to clear everything out and get the books closed. So it is a pretty slow time, but we did receive our first advances from Cuyahoga and Lorraine County on a real estate settlement. That's always kind of hard to project. It just varies so much from year to year. It's those that pay early, you get a percentage of that, and then they hold some back for fees at the end. On the expense side, like I said, we got those materials and services paid for to get the buildings ready for this year. And the big expense, the big one-time expense, let's call it, is really those severance payouts for the staff that retired at the end of last year. They retired, we pay their contract off in June, and then their severance gets paid in July. So that's the big item there. But, from what we projected, and again, 1 month does not make a trend, but revenue came in about 73,000 over plan, and expenses were about 34,000 over plan. So what does that leave us with? About 39,000, let's say, to the good. But that's, I don't want to say meaningless, but it doesn't really show us much after 1 month. Catastrophic costs, we talked about that and how there was an error in the formula that the state funded us on with our submission last spring, and we did finally get that corrected amount in. That deficiency amount was about $69,241, so we can close the books on that. Board office construction, we had our request for qualifications that went out. That period closed. We had four firms that submitted, and I'll tell you, all 4 of those firms were very good, and they've got the experience, local experience for the most part. I think there was one that was more in the southern part of the state, but I wouldn't have had any issue and any relationships with any of them. But the one that rose to the top was AVG, and that was based on our past experience. That is one of the criteria, the rubric that we evaluate. That's the only firm that submitted that we had that experience with, and we've always had from our experience a positive experience with AVG. So that's who we've selected. We had, just for transparency, we had legal counsel develop that rubric for us. That way we didn't establish something that somebody may think was biased and who are you selecting. We worked with them on that. Keith Krakowiak and I followed that, and we went through each of those categories within each statement that was submitted. And like I say, they were all very good. So we're now working with counsel on that agreement with them. And you'll see on the agenda here a resolution to adopt that authorizes us to enter into that agreement once it's prepared. And I think in that resolution, you'll see Jim, Phil, and I have that authority, or the board would give us that authority should you pass that to enter into that agreement with them. Any questions on building construction on the board office? Okay. GAP, I think we talked a little bit about that. It's GAP season again, so we'll work with Julian Groove and providing them with statements and documents so that they can do their conversion. The Medicaid audit is not complete yet, but all the documents are there to HBS, who then will review, compile, and go forward that on to Julian and Groove. That's an annual requirement that we have to participate in that Medicaid reimbursement program, and that's always gone well. At the end of that, there's also a true-up. So on the reimbursements, they hold a little bit back, awaiting the outcome of the AUP, and then they'll either release those funds, or if there's adjustments that they need to make on that final payment, they'll adjust that downward too. Typically, I don't think I've ever been in a situation where the district owes money back to the state, because they don't pay everything at 100%. And if there are adjustments, they're very minor, so they're releasing funds back to records retention. We had that commission meeting just before the start of this, and I think you folks were here to see that. That's always an exciting time, and we just can't wait till the next one next year so we can do that again. Chamber of Commerce, there is their annual golf outing on August 30th at Mallard Creek. Starts at 9 a.m. If anybody has interest in entering the team for that, let me know, and I'll work with you to help you get signed up for that. But that's August 30th. I think they tee at 9, and they're done about 2:30. Finance Advisory Committee, we are going to have our first meeting for this year on September 18th at 6 o'clock, and we're going to invite the new county fiscal officer out here. Brian Dunn retired this summer, and there's a new gentleman in there. He's coming in at a very interesting time because they just finished up the reappraisal process. So he's out doing his introduction presentation to various municipalities on what the effects of the reval came in and what it means to their residents and what it means to that agency. So we're hoping that we can get them to come out there as well. Science of reading, I'm not sure how much we've talked about this in the past, but the state has a new mandate out there that certain groups of instructors are required to take this training, and depending on their position, that kind of determines what pathway that they're required to take. With that then comes a stipend. That stipend is also mandated by the state, and depending on your pathway, it's either $400 or $1,200, but the state then reimburses you for that. So we pay it, submit our claim, they reimburse us. So we not only get, let's say an individual got a $1,200 stipend, we're reimbursed that amount plus what our requirement is on the STRS contribution and Medicare. So that's another, 15.45% of that $1,200. So we've submitted that. It's a pretty slick system to have in place. And I just want to thank Shannon for the work that she put into up front. When a staff member completes that process, they log that information in, and then upload a certificate to us that validates that completion. And then that's all part of the file that gets submitted to the state. That went well. Shannon, I just had to say there's just kind of a couple quirky things in that submission that I never would have thought of. So let's say, I think there's a Richard Smith, for example, with the last name. If there's not a hyphen in there, they reject it, because it doesn't match exactly what the state has on file. If I say my name is Kim, but it's really Kimberly, they'll reject it for that as well. So who would have thought of that? We give them the numbers, and you would think that they would just take it at that, but there was, I think, 4 of those that came across that way. So we just got to clean those up real quick and resubmit it. But thank you very much for that tool and gathering that information up. Shannon also, she's putting the pressure on me. She was in that office next door, and everything's nice and clean. She's got stuff rearranged. Then you go like 2 steps down and you look at my hole, right? I got stacks of paper everywhere, and I cannot start the school year off this way with that. And Bobby makes comments to me, this is an accountant's office. He says, we got that cleaned up. You'd be surprised, Bob.
Oh, really?
Take a look at that now. Halfway.
He's got it for a coin.
So, yeah, right, that's right.
I'm good on his office.
Well, you didn't count the box, did you?
No, I didn't count
it. Any questions? Good start of the year, I think. Good start of the year.
Awesome, thank you, Brett. Dr.
Just
Bell.
have a few different things here. First, we've had a lot of transitions. We had people retire. We had people get promotions and go to other school districts, and we had to do some internal things, but we haven't really missed a beat at all. And so I think it's a testament to Shannon and Brian and Stephanie coming in and hitting the ground running, and our central office support staff. Everybody's been awesome. So I don't say that enough. So I just wanted to say that. Opening day was, I thought, one of the best and most rewarding professional days that I've ever had. This is my 31st year in doing this, and what was really cool about it was being able to look back 10 years and kind of tell a story about where we were when I initially became the superintendent and kind of where we are now. And then I was able to step away and really allow the staff to step forward. And from the ECC all the way to the high school, and the high school finished that part of the presentation, you could see that it's not just like me up there trying to sell it to anybody. I mean, I told the story, and they really kind of like, in kind of black and white, and they put color into all of it. And they spoke with just such conviction and passion. And the two that really stick out of my mind were Carla Weibel, and you could tell just kind of she spoke really from her heart of how she feels about what it is that we're doing. And then John Bass as well. It was like having two superintendents up there selling the district vision to inspire and empower kids, and then talking about how we're now accounting for impact and why we're doing what it is that we're doing. And then, the idea of like going from that 2-year professional learning sequence to the creation of these, this district poster, and then in each building, and I encourage you as you go into the buildings to take a look at what they've produced is really a talking point of what they're doing and why they're doing it. And it was, the band was awesome. It was just such a really, really cool day, and I always get fired up about that. One of the things that we reinstituted, and this is post-economic decline that we had, we always recognize staff for their service years, but we phased out sort of giving them something. And it's not like they get like $1 million or scratch off lottery tickets or anything like that that's going to get Brett like a cardiac moment. But what we were able to do is like get them, with our relationship with RICO, is to give them a sort of a certificate that they can take to RICO Sports and get Bulldog apparel. A lot of people live here and work here, but a lot of people don't, and so they're not running out and buying things. And so I think to give them some of that was a cool thing. So we had from $15 all the way up to like $50. Like if you're Nancy Womack and Mike Schaefer and Mike Moore, you're 35 years, you get $50. So nothing cool like a Rolex watch or anything, but so that was neat. I just want to let you know we reinstituted that through Brian's office. There's a cost to that. It's probably like $2,500 or something like that, but it was, I think, money well spent. I had what Brett was going to say about ABG and the board office. One of the things that we need to do is, when we're talking about this, is a communication strategy. We don't want, surveyors already came out, but we don't want like a front end loader and any other equipment out there and go, what the heck are they doing over there? I mean, we talked about it before. It appeared in social media. There was some criticism of different things, and so I think we need to sort of re-communicate to the community of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we'll do that with the facilities committee as well. We talked to them extensively about this, and so we will talk to them again about why we're doing this. And we're meeting again. The facilities committee is going to look to meet sometime soon again as well, so that's firing back up. So those are those things. We are going to look to recruit some additional key communicators. Julianne and I were reviewing the people who come often and those that do not, and so we're going to ask lots of different folks. We're going to ask the PTA, we're going to ask our principals, and certainly ask you guys if you have any idea of somebody that would be a good contributing member as a key communicator. I mean, not everybody's going to be selected because that group is rather large, but we want to get some new blood in there. And particularly, I'd like to get some families who really have kids at the ECC, and it falls on us. That way, they can be on for a while. Some positions have an automatic, entry into it. Like the president of PTA Executive Council is an automatic. Like that seat has one. Music Association, any president, booster group, those sorts of things do as well. But there's also some kind of like at-large members as well. So we look to add some of you. So if you know someone, please shoot me an email. And Kim is hanging in. We do not. There's going to come a point here where we do not have a communications director really at all, because she's going to have some, some things that she's gonna need to take care of. She really now is just focusing on the website. She's on a leave, in some ways, and so we can't have her be involved with things that she's gonna need to follow up on long-term, which puts a lot of pressure on things. We're trying to lean on Allerton Hill as much as we can, but I'm leaning on Julianne, for a lot of different things as well, and she's supposed to be, you know, the family and community, engagement specialist, and really, that's kind of communications, but I just wanted to give you an update kind of on that. I think in October, Kim's gonna be off the grid for like a month. And that's around like the first school reports, social media things that have to be put out. So there's a lot of stuff that we're not gonna have anybody specifically assigned to do that. So if there are communication requests that you guys might have or anybody else, we're gonna try to work through that.
At Allerton Hill, the services that they might provide in this situation on just a temporary basis, is that included in some sort of
They are,
annual fee we pay them for? or-
yeah, we pay them a lot of money. I mean, they
Yeah,
get paid pretty well. I mean, it's like that's a good, big cost that we pay. But and as a result of that, because we were really on like a low plan and they were undercharging us. And so we're now up to the big boy, plan, really where we ought to have been. And they know Kim, and they're pitching in, and they're very supportive without adding additional cost onto us of what we had. So they will help us with things like, okay, we need to get the key communicators group together, help us maybe think about agenda items, but specifically the facilities group. I mean, they're meeting with like Brett and I and Heath and others to talk about how we should be doing that sort of thing. The problem is it's really like the day-to-day stuff. Like if we have a crisis or an emergency, they will come in and they will help us right away. They will give us good advice on
No,
things.
they're not there to update. the
But they're not
website.
gonna send out something that really about a transportation issue or any of those other things. So we're gonna try to figure that out on the fly because we're down a man, a woman. So we're doing the best we can with that. We certainly wish Kim all the best too. The last thing I'll say, that John Benson was kind enough to ask me what I thought and how excited I was for the school year. And it's kind of annoying because, you know, they put it up on cleveland.com and you can't read it at all because it's like a protected thing. There's a go around behind that, and, you know, around that, so I did a little bit of that for folks so they could read it, but there's some really cool things that are happening this year, particularly in this building. You know, I mean, Jessica Jones is absolutely amazing, and she has this urban farming and sustainability course that she's doing, and it I think, longitudinally could turn into something really kind of big, like greenhouse and animals and other kinds of things that, you know, would, I don't know if we're gonna be doing what Brett does with his chicken farming that he has going on, but there was talk of like chickens at some point and other kinds of things. But, I mean, there's like, and the business department is like, there's beehives back there, and they're making soap, and they're gonna sell honey also up Brett's alley as well, because he's a honey farmer. And then Sean Pellerite has this, essentially an adulting course that, you know, that he's teaching. It's how to fix a flat tire, and how to do simple electrical and plumbing, and all those things that, like, if you have older kids, you wish your kids like learn how to do that you never taught them, because you really didn't know how to do it yourself anyway. You know, it's sort of a hat job.
Can I audit
Can
that?
I bring my husband, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Tracy Blake has an African-American studies course. It's an elective, so if people kind of go, oh, God, he said it's a DEI course, and they start coming at us that way, but they can, but it's an elective.
How many kids are registered for it?
There are 36 kids registered for that course, I believe. And there are 2 sections of each one of these other courses that I spoke about as well, and I think what's gonna happen is that those will become kind of like courses where everybody's gonna wanna get into. We've had a history here, and it's one thing that at some point I wanna talk to the board about. When they run the schedule, the high school wants to have 100%. Kids get everything that they want. There's a cost associated with that, right? Getting everything you want, because it needs more staff and other kinds of things. So, you know, at some point, I want to let you guys know and get you to weigh in on, like, and should some things be like in every other year, or we're gonna put a cap at this and say, sorry, you can't take that. We've not said that. We've not said sorry. So, just for your education. That's really all I have. I don't care questions. Tomorrow we go.
Awesome, thank you. Hearing the public, we've already heard from our one public. Thank you again for being here. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is our consent agenda. I will accept a motion to approve the items in 4, 5, and 6.
So moved.
Second.
Holly Justin. Any questions, comments, concerns about any of the items in the consent agenda? Okay. Call the roll.
Mr. Funk?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
And Ms. Schreckenroth?
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 8A, discussion topics for upcoming work session. Our next work session is September 11th. Wednesday, September 11th. I'll let everybody weigh in, obviously, but one thing I thought of when I saw this was we had talked at the one meeting that we had over in the media room about maybe having some of the administration who isn't normally with us come to a meeting. Sam, Sean, Keith, Stephanie eventually, just to come and give a very, very short, informal update on what's going on with their respective departments. No PowerPoint nothing fancy. This is just to be able to get them in front of us once a year, maybe at least, and have them, if there's any big ask that they've been kind of holding back, maybe let us know, by the way, guys, we really could use X, Y, and Z at the bus garage, or whatever the problem of the day is. I think that would be a good, in my opinion, it would be a good use of work session time if everyone is generally okay with that concept. So, anyone else have ideas about upcoming work sessions and things we could be addressing, other than the kind of the facilities plan and things that are gonna just come to us naturally by virtue of the fact that they're already going on?
We talked about having when are we going to have a discussion? I don't know that we're ready for it now, but that's probably a future work session thing. Or whatever we call that, but.
Yeah, kickoff of the levy plan.
Right.
What's the plan?
Right.
And I've got that on, that's one of the topics for the finance committee as well. We'll look at the forecast and the things that are, coming ahead, and just kind of get that seat planted there as well.
Is that something you think maybe one of the work sessions yet this fall, would we be ready to kind of start having that discussion, or is that not realistic, or maybe after the first of the year?
That might be a little early yet, I think. I think we're probably looking at 26 or 27, and
Yeah, I think my thought would be, you need to get that facilities commission to kind of finalize, this is much my opinion, finalize like what is their recommendation to the board on what ought to happen, and what is that cost of that, right? And then you have that, and then you have what the potential cost would be for an operating levy, and then you're talking about timing of everything. And I think you need to have that bond issue millage be known before you kind of can go out and start to think. The other thing too, prior to all of that, is a survey of the community, a Paul Fallon survey that we've done in the past as well, and really what that ought to be, and what we're allowed to ask now, because the climate has changed, and the, what's his name, is puts out some advice from the state. Who's the guy that what's the position that puts out the advice on the things you're not allowed to say? Like you and I being able to go to, that's not the auditor, that's the, is it the AG?
well, the AG's been doing that. Your Secretary of State's kind of been involved in that,
Yeah.
Huffman, and
things that we're not allowed to kind of go and campaign on, you know. They've given favorable kind of advice now for us that we can operate like we have in the past, but there's still some strangers there. But regardless, we need to know what are the plans for facilities and what is the amount. So, but I think that's in there. So what I did, I just shared a file with all of you that says 2024-25 work session topics. And thought that we would just start putting them on there. And then you guys, Bill, you decide, talk to your board members about what's added. Because that will help me think of who needs to be at the work sessions. You know, I think obviously, any time in a work session, both of you are certainly invited to attend, but if you're not specific, you're not going to speak to it, I don't think necessarily.
And I think, Ron, for levy planning, we can work that finance committee too. So even if we don't know what the dollar amount is, what the millage amount is, we know it's going to be
What the idea
fair
is,
amount.
yeah, yeah.
And really, it's going to be kind of the timing of things. Is it PI? Is it operating? When do those things?
Yeah, they may not know the specific amount, but it's like, okay, we need to really update the transportation office to this level, and we need to build one building that has these things as far as a recommendation, and then we can estimate the cost. And then the time. So,
Okay, so everybody give it some thought over the next couple
And
of weeks.
I don't think that we need to feel guilty if we don't have a work session. I mean, I know I used to, and I was like, we need a work session. Well, there's no sense in meeting just to meet.
Yep.
We're all busy with our other professional lives, and obviously, we don't want to tax out our administration, unnecessarily. We're so fortunate that things are going so well for us right now. We put the hard work in, so things are going so well for us right now. And, we should, think of that, and be so, right, if there's nothing to talk about, then we're good. Once a month, we get what we we hear the updates, we engage, and then when things do come up, then we're ready for a work
you
session.
could get intel from a report, like we have a facilities meeting, we'll kind of summarize it in some report and send that to you. You get the bi-weekly reports from the
Yeah.
admins as well. so.
Or we meet, whatever the board, the majority of the board wants, but I guess I'm just saying, don't feel guilty if you're like, I don't know what we should talk about. For years, I didn't know what we should talk about, but then things germinated, and then we did talk about it, right?
Yeah, things naturally will come up. that
They
we
will,
have- we
they will,
kind of
and-
have to meet before
Yes,
and then
yes,
meet.
exactly. You'd be surprised, yeah.
The dates are on the calendar, and it's a lot easier to cancel than that. So
Right, exactly, that's correct.
As we get, a week
No,
and
and
a
I don't
half.
know what other districts do, if they, follow the same, kind of pattern that we do, a work session once a month, and I have no clue. Years ago, when I was first a new board member, I would, seek out other board meetings and see how they did it, but it's been a long time now.
I think it varies, and it's interesting, because some superintendents will sort of brag to me and go, yeah, you guys may go, yeah, we should do that. But like, my board meeting only lasts 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, discuss things, 10 minutes, so.
Yeah,
But
I
you're-
don't be in
don't-
favor of that.
Good, yes.
We're-
That's it. 10 minutes sounds like a fine idea, though, sometimes.
But then, I
If you're having a bad day.
If you're having a
If you've got
bad
a bad day,
But then,
regular.
of course, I've talked to board members in other districts that, they have a million different committees that the board members are on, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, you guys have a lot of, I'm thinking to myself, we don't have that many committees, should we have that many committees and stuff? And, it's a balance, right? So, I feel like, we do it really well.
No, I appreciate that. I agree completely with that. So next one is scheduled for September 11th. Let's,
It could.
sleep
could
on it for the
potentially
next
happen.
few weeks or so, and then we'll figure out if we have it. And our regularly scheduled meeting will be on September 26th, either way, so. Any discussion from the board before we move into executive session? For the public's benefit, we will be moving into executive session for two different items. One related to reason number one, the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of public employees or regulated individuals. And item number 6, discussion of specialized details of security arrangements where disclosure of the matters might reveal information that could be used for the purpose of committing or avoiding prosecution for violation of the law. So that will be the 2 reasons for our executive session today. So I will accept the motion to go into executive. Thank you, Joy. Enjoy your zucchini boats. Motion to go at 6:58. Justin? Ellen?
Sorry, we moved ahead.
All right, I had to say the timeout.
Dr. Sullivan.
And Dr. Goss and Dr. Zeller